This is a Stronghold Digital Mining Daily Update. Today's Wednesday, July 12th, 2023. A lot of numbers to look at today, so let's pull up the slide. Okay, PJM Penelec, PJM PP&L. In the case of PJM Penelec, $38.57. In the case of PJM PP&L, average price, $33.86. These are true 24-hour averages from about 3:30 yesterday afternoon. Bitcoin priced in dollars per megawatt hour, an amazing, incredible $98.62. That is so good for us. That is a phenomenal number. Spot price of Bitcoin, 24-hour average, pretty much unchanged, $30,621, and the network hash rate is a bit lower at 344. Okay, back to me, please. So the reason why I always like to highlight these numbers, and again, as I said yesterday, when we look at grid prices, right, like electricity grid prices, sometimes the averages don't necessarily tell the whole story because there can be a lot of spiking during different, times during the day. But when we really talk about Bitcoin price in dollars per megawatt hour, if you're kind of new to this channel and you're like, hey, what is he talking about? I will kind of go into more detail at some point, but suffice it to say, take my word for it, okay? $98, plus in terms of like Bitcoin price in dollars per megawatt hour for Stronghold Digital Mining, that's phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. From an operational perspective, hey, if we had numbers like that every single day or better, I mean, we'd really be in phenomenal shape, okay? We're in really good shape now, but I will say that, hey, when our revenue inputs, right, which are grid prices and Bitcoin price in dollars per megawatt hour, those are our two primary revenue inputs. Yes, we do also generate some additional revenue from the sale of what's called beneficial use ash, but we're kind of leaving that to the side because it's not, as substantial of a number as what we typically generate from either grid sales or Bitcoin mining revenue, right? So BTCMW, right, of $98+ phenomenal. So that's a number we want to keep an eye on. Let's take a look at something that I spotted a couple days ago, but I didn't get a chance to really talk about it till today. So let's just pull up that slide, please. B. Riley lifts Stronghold Digital Mining's price target to $8 from $7 and keeps the neutral rating. Okay, back to me, please. So why am I highlighting this? Well, I think it's thought-provoking when we think about what is involved, right, with a professional, Wall Street investment firm making a determination that, hey, the price target for a particular company is going to be one thing versus another. What I think B. Riley is essentially doing is creating kind of like a floor on the price of Stronghold Digital Mining stock. That's not to say that the stock can't go below $8 a share, because trust me, it surely can. But I think it is thought-provoking if you're somebody who's like, what do the professionals say? What do the people who have like PhDs or the equivalent of PhDs in financial analysis? I mean, these are like really like brilliant people. What do they have to say about, Stronghold Digital Mining stock price? I like highlighting things like that because I think it provides a little bit of context as to what Wall Street is saying about Stronghold Digital Mining stock. So I do take issue oftentimes with what I perceive to be a bit of a lowballing of our stock price and a lowballing of our valuation, but I have a tremendous respect for B. Riley, Lucas over there, great guy. I mean, again, it's a very tough business. I mean, imagine yourself being in a position where you have to professionally come up with guesses as to what a stock price is going to be or not be, what a company is going to earn or not earn, and not just for one company, but for like a whole smattering of companies that are in your coverage universe. It's not an easy job. I have tremendous respect for the people who are in that profession. But again, I'm just highlighting this because if you're somebody who has like zero concept of like, hey man, I don't even know like what the stock should be at least this gives a little bit of insight as to what a professional Wall Street firm has to say about Stronghold Digital Mining stock. So there's that. Okay, I want to show you one more slide, and this one gets a little bit more into the weeds a bit, but I think it's worth showing. So let's go ahead and pull it up, please. Okay, so I was asked recently, hey, we do have this at the market offering that's sort of like there. Did we potentially raise upwards of $15 to maybe even $25 million over the last several days? Like, what's really going on here? So take a look at the green arrow where I'm sort of highlighting something here. To keep this fairly simple, we renegotiated, by we I mean Stronghold Digital Mining renegotiated its debt agreement essentially with Whitehawk Finance in February of 2023. So one of the amendments to the credit agreement is the cash sweep to lender. So you'll notice that it says beginning in June 2023, which is just like last month, 50% of the average monthly cash balance in excess of $7.5 million will essentially be swept to our lender until the debt is repaid. Back to me, please. The reason I'm highlighting that is because, when we think about what could potentially be the use of the money that Stronghold might raise through an at-the-market offering. Now, the legal language within the regulatory filing itself basically says, hey, we could pretty much use this money for like anything, be it working capital, be it to invest in more Bitcoin mining machines, be it to repay debt, so on and so forth. So there's a lot of latitude given, right, as to what the use or the proceeds of that type of offering, what those funds could be used for. I think from a more pragmatic perspective, okay, I don't think that we generally use cash to buy brand new Bitcoin mining machines, okay? If you're somebody who's ever bought a Bitcoin mining machine, you know that generally speaking, right, if you're working directly with a manufacturer, you need to pay usually like in Bitcoin, okay, or an equivalent type of, cryptocurrency. So I suspect that any money that we're raising, okay, through an at-the-market offering, is probably more likely being used. And this is speculative on my part. I mean, I'm not there to know exactly what's going on, but I suspect we have that there, not so much to raise a lump sum, although that's certainly possible, but perhaps more likely to strategically raise some money here and there to fill any cracks or gaps in our working capital needs. Now, that can sound ominous, and that can sound like, wait a minute, is there insufficient working capital? Is something going on? No, I don't mean it from that perspective per se. I just mean that it's kind of nice to have some flexibility to be able to tap into equity markets when the timing is presumed to be advantageous to do so, to raise some money, which again, to be fair, it could very well be that we, hey, maybe we raise 15 million and all of a sudden, a substantial part of that gets swept to the lender. So be it, right? I mean, we're reducing the amount of debt that we've got outstanding. I think more likely, though, as I said before, we're probably strategically not necessarily raising this in a lump sum unless we really need some extra money right away to potentially invest in additional, maybe second-hand Bitcoin mining machines. So maybe not brand new from the manufacturer, but rather to a third party, and maybe in an instance like that. I mean, I've never bought any of this machinery from a third party, so I don't know if they're as rigorous in insisting on Bitcoin or if they'll accept, a company check, so to speak. But be that as it may, I'm just sensing that this type of ATM that we've got in place is likely more to be used in smaller amounts to just kind of help fill, cracks and gaps in our sort of like funding needs as we go forward, especially because obviously we want to make sure that we are as optimized as possible for when the eventual rally in Bitcoin truly takes off. And I think all of us, right? I think we can all agree that if we're involved with a company like Stronghold Digital Mining, or really any publicly traded Bitcoin mining machine, not mining machine, but mining company, we are essentially saying, you know what? We are bullish on Bitcoin. I've said this before. Yes, we have two potential revenue inputs, one being electricity grid sales, right? And then the other, of course, being Bitcoin mining revenue. The real growth driver for Stronghold Digital Mining is going to come from Bitcoin mining. Okay, grid prices and grid sales, I think that can be very lucrative. It could create some, like cash windfalls that are useful, right? But in terms of the real jackpot, okay, if we want to think of it that way, in terms of like the real jackpot, the one where we just kind of sit back and like look on in amazement at the type of cash flow that we have the potential to generate, that's going to come from Bitcoin. So it's critical, okay, it's absolutely critical that Stronghold Digital Mining do everything in its power to strategically position itself financially, right, to be in the game for when that time comes. Right? What we don't want to see happen is a situation where the company, rolls over and then 3 months later, boom, Bitcoin blasts off and we're like, oh my gosh, like we could have really raked in some incredibly useful revenue. I've said this before, I'll mention it again. When Bitcoin mining economics really take off, and by the way, $98.62 Bitcoin, priced in dollars per megawatt hour, that's phenomenal. That's really great even now, okay? But I'm saying, like, what if that's 200? What if that's 300, 400, etc.? Our financial picture it's just an incredible thing to behold. Okay, I've done some samples in Microsoft Excel. I mean, it's really transformational. I mean, you could pretty much be debt free in a couple of quarters. I mean, if not sooner. That's how transformational. So, okay. We've gone over quite a bit here today. Let's continue to remain positive. I think the stock was at what? Let me just double check. Yeah, about like closed at $8.48 a share. I think the volume was like 700,000+ shares. So a little bit lighter volume. As I said, if you're brand new to Stronghold Digital Mining, a buddy of mine that I joked, hey man, you're not really part of the the brotherhood or sisterhood of sorts until you're down 75% at one point, right? And then you bounce back from that. But hey, look, as I said, I think, $8, $7, hopefully there's going to be a floor here. And now at this point, we're really talking about, okay, let's look forward. Let's see where this stock can go from here. We're not going to go straight up in a week, right? I mean, there's going to be some pullbacks and that's understandable. Let's be positive. Let's be great. We'll see each other again tomorrow.